from News Channel 8. This is News Talk with Bruce DePoint.
So good to have you with us on this Thursday. Hi, everybody. Welcome. We've got a great lineup for you this time. We begin with residents of the Capitol Hill neighborhood. They are on edge after a spike in crime. A series of robberies has residents and visitors to the area altering their daily routines. It's where we begin this time. Washington Post reporter Peter Herman tracking the story for the Washington Post, joining us now from the paper's newsroom downtown. Thanks for your time today, Peter. Good to talk with you again.
Oh, good to talk to you, too.
What's happening that has residents of the Capitol Hill neighborhood, and we're not talking, of course, about the Capitol Dome, the Capitol building. We're not talking about official Washington here. We're talking about the real Washington, if you will, of the neighborhood surrounding the Hill, 7th Street and Eastern Market, that whole area. What's going on there that has people nervous?
Well, there's been a spate of robberies and armed robberies there of residents over the past several months, kind of spiking in the last month or so. And there's been numerous arrests, usually groups of 3 or 4. Lots of juveniles traveling in packs, and it's got a lot of people on edge. They're changing the way their daily routines are going, from what time they walk the dog to picking spouses and children up at metro stations, or in some cases not using the metro and turning back to cars.
As you were out investigating this story and talking to people in the neighborhoods and on the street, how hard was it to find people who have impacted the daily routine of their normal lives? Did this feel like a person here, a person there, or has the fear reached the point where a fair number of people are doing things differently until things simmer down?
No, a fair number of people are. There was a community meeting with the police chief and other officials about a week or so ago that was packed with about 300 to 400 residents, and even people who have not been robbed are changing the way they are going about their routines because they're afraid of being next.
What neighborhoods are impacted? What areas are we talking about here?
The spike is going on in different parts of the city. Around Capitol Hill, it is the Capitol Hill neighborhood, Hill East neighborhood, and Navy Yard. But it stretches all the way up to the H Street corridor.
Have the arrests helped? To what extent have police been able to nab those committing crime in the areas you just described? And are we seeing any reduction in crime because of that?
I think yes and no. Police have made some very significant arrests of groups of 3 or 4, including like 3 or 4 different clumps of them. The problem now is trying to identify which robberies, which groups, or which people are involved in. And so I think they're still sorting through a lot of them. So while they've made an arrest in 1 or 2 cases, they think they've been involved in many more, and now it's just a matter of going back and trying to link suspects up with various crimes. They do say that after they make one of these arrests, that the robberies, at least for a few days, go down pretty quickly.
Can you tell us more about the meeting, the community meeting you referred to a moment ago that seemed to draw such a large crowd?
It was a meeting involving some of the ANC members and the D.C. Council member, and D.C. Police Chief Kathy Lanier also attended. There was a lot of angry residents who not only want action from police in terms of stopping the robberies, but want to be able to track some of these suspects as they go through the judicial system. The fear is, and with some of the homicides spiking in the district, the city has blamed, in large part, repeat violent offenders. And so I think a lot of residents want to know, not just has someone been arrested for the crime, but what has happened or what is happening to them. And that gets a little bit more difficult because it involves a lot of different agencies, and it's not always easy to track some of these people through the system.
Was Chief Lanier there primarily to listen and to signal to residents that the concerns they have are on her radar screen, or did her participation go beyond that sort of thing?
Oh, I think that's a large part of what she does. But she also did a tour of the Capitol Hill area with the district commander, so she could get a feel of what areas are most impacted. She put a lot of resources into that neighborhood and other neighborhoods where robberies are a problem, in terms of undercover, or in terms of more visible police presence in some of the neighborhoods. She told me that people should not have to change their routines because of crime.
This issue of repeat violent offenders is certainly interesting in the sense that there's so much scrutiny of police in general and of MPD in particular when you're talking about the District of Columbia. We don't know, by we I mean most reporters, people like me and most citizens, know a whole lot less about what happens when an allegation of crime gets to the prosecution level and or to the court. We don't know whether crimes get reduced in the plea process or if there's a failure to connect the dots in a way that leads to a conviction. So that part of it feels a little out of balance. So much scrutiny of the police, and police deserve scrutiny and they expect it. We all get that. But as cases move to other parts of the system, it's like they get lost in terms of the broader public's understanding.
They do, and there are ways to track, and certainly the reporters can track them. It's just a matter of volume, and it's keeping up with individual cases. For the citizen, it's a little bit more difficult. There are tools. There are online court dockets and so forth that when you know the name of the suspect who was arrested, you can yourself track through to see when hearings are coming up and attend the hearings. Names of prosecutors and lawyers will be on there that you can contact, and you can see what's going on through the process. And you can also go to the courthouse and pull court documents and see even in more detail what's going on, but that's time consuming. It is. In some of these robbery cases, a lot of the arrestees are juveniles, which almost makes it impossible to track through because that information is held in confidence. Some of the suspects were arrested in neighboring jurisdictions, which means you have an extra step of waiting to see if they're going to be extradited to the district, which takes even more time. Right. And then you have to keep checking in with police and prosecutors to see if additional charges have been filed in your case. It's a little bit easier for the victims because they have contacts within the police department and victims advocates within the prosecutor's office who can help you track your case through the system. Right. But I think the idea is to let everyone do it, and it's all a matter of public record. And what the police chief told me is she'd like to see it all in one place. Public record and the time and absolutely all. But right now you have to go through very different agencies and different websites and different bureaucracies to figure out all these steps along the way.
Reporter Peter Herman of the Washington Post with the latest on the crime situation in the Capitol Hill area that has residents and visitors to the community on edge. Peter, thanks for your time. Good to talk with you as always.
You're very welcome.
We'll talk with you again.